sound. I have a new microphone here. I'm crazy. Which hopefully will help have better sound. The sound has been pretty low quality. I've been listening to them back. And then the software that I'm using called Restream makes it so that I am doing it live on Facebook and on YouTube. And I don't have any followers on YouTube yet, but I know that some people prefer not to be on Facebook. So that's why I'm trying to figure it out. And this software, this Restream software, is like actually surprisingly simple. So I was like, there's no way that this is working. So I'm just kind of checking. It looks like I'm on Facebook. And so I'm going to delete the old one. Delete post. Yeah, cool. And I like checked on YouTube and it's there. So cool. Welcome to the Mental Health Check-In. I'm personally transforming, which is my theme today, by using new hardware and software. So if you are having any difficulties viewing or hearing me, please let me know by leaving a comment. And today is Monday, September. Cannot believe. And let's see. So for the mental health check-in part, today I woke up and I've been feeling so tired all day. I think a little bit is because I just got this standing desk. Oh, that's a new thing for me too. So many new things. See, I'm personally transforming. This is a great topic today. I got this new standing desk, so I'm standing up. And so I think that that's actually, and stood for a couple hours at my desk standing today. And so I do actually think it's making me a little tired. A couple long hikes that normally just fine. And I'm like, my body is so tired. I actually had to take a nap today, which is not something I normally do. And so from a mental health standpoint, there's a part of me that really wants to give myself a hard time. Like, come on, why can't you feel better or make yourself feel better? And that part of my voice, whenever I use it, it never works. Like it doesn't motivate me to feel better. So it's often times like maybe I could use a little bit of that motivational voice, but then also sometimes like I need to just meet myself where I'm at. Like maybe I could say, okay, what's like a small thing you can do to feel productive, or a small thing you can do at work today. And start there, maybe I could just do one small thing, and then usually that'll turn into one more small thing and another small thing until, if for days when it's really feeling like it's really hard for me to get through the workday. Today's kind of feeling like one of those days. One thing that I did to help motivate, I had standing desk and there were like boxes all over, messy. So I just took a few minutes to clean up my space, and that actually did help me feel better. And studies show that if you have a clean workspace, that you feel more productive. So that's a little tip. But I would be curious to know how working from home, what's working, what's feeling really hard. Like I really would love to know. So if you're watching and you want to leave a comment or you want to send me a text or a personal message, yeah, I mean, my heart definitely goes out to all the parents out there. It seems extra hard for you all. So I'm just one person at home alone, and it's still hard. So, yeah, this is just a whole new thing using the Restream. So I'm still like, what am I looking at? So that's why I'm like already having a kind of a tired day, and I still wanted to show up for mental health check-in instead of like postponing, because part of what I've been saying like since March is that it's so important to allow ourselves to feel the full range of human emotions without having to be toxically positive. And oftentimes, on social media, people are always posting like the very best moments of our lives. This amazing thing happened and my life is so great and look at this other amazing thing. And it can make it really unhealthy. Like we start to compare like our normal life to other people's highlight reel, they say. And so anyway, I'm just feeling kind of blah today. And I was like, it's important for me to come on and do the mental health check-in because it's important to hold space for these moments too. So anyway, personal transformation and the practice of personal transformation. I couldn't actually quite come up with a title that I loved for this one. I thought if I just called it like habit change, that maybe wasn't sexy enough, like if I called it, this, by the way, is a giant pitcher of yerba mate that I've been making every day and drinking all day, unsweetened. If I just called it like the very tedious task of changing our micro habits, I just thought maybe no one would show up. But so maybe, you could let me know what you think the ideal title would be. Because the practice of personal transformation is much more about what we do in any given moment, and that those moments collect over time to create who we are. And so when we think about, I want to be a new self, I want to do these things better. I think sometimes it goes like this. This is how it has gone for me. I maybe will meet someone or interact with someone that has a quality that I really respect or admire. And maybe I'm not even quite sure what it is that they have that I like, or sometimes I do know. How that person has great, or they really have great posture, or they really can command a room. They really take up some great space. Maybe it's that, we say, oh, wow, that person always speaks so kindly about others. I've never heard them say a mean thing. Or these are some of the things that come to my mind. Or even like, wow, that person is so natural at playing group sports for fun. Or what are some other good fun ones? I mean, even things like that person's such a great runner. Or wow, that person's a great musician, or they're very productive. Different qualities that people have that we really look up to or wish we had, or different people that we just think, wow, I really like being around them. I really like how I feel when I'm around them. And so that's kind of usually the starting place of personal transformation, is starting to notice who we like and maybe who we want to become. And so there's a few different pieces that go into then transforming ourselves so that we can inhabit those same qualities. Probably we already have them. Maybe we just want to have them a little bit more. So I think which is what I said when I started this talk just now, is that meeting ourselves with kindness and compassion is so important. So if we say something like, always get so much done, and I'm super lame for never being able to get anything done. That's like, we can do it that way, but it's not the best way. And in my experience, it's not the way that leads to change. And so oftentimes it's the very first start is to meet ourselves with compassion and to say, use like a really, really kind voice, which is also part of personal transformation, right? It's also, that's also part of it, is that each and every time we practice using a kind and soothing and compassionate voice to ourselves, then we start to transform into someone that we like even more. And so then we say, wow, I noticed that other person seems to get so much done. They're so productive. I really admire that about them. And, I really would like to feel more productive just because I know how enjoyable that is. And I'd like to have some more of this quality that I already possess a little bit. And it's nice to recall some time when you felt really productive. Like, you know what? There was that one time I had this great project I was working on and I got it all done, in just a couple days, and I was so proud of myself. So it's nice to kind of recall that to help bring that kindness and compassion, and to realize that we're all made up of different parts, right? So there may be one part of us that feels scattered and unproductive, and this is just one example I'm using, so it could be any quality that you're looking to transform. But then there's another part of you that is productive, especially when you're motivated, especially when you really like what you're working on, right? So that's the first part, is to speak to yourself really kindly and to acknowledge and give yourself credit exactly where you already are at, and to see yourself and to go, okay, I'm noticing you. I'm seeing you. And this is what Pema Chodron, when I was on retreat with her last weekend, which I talked about in my video last Monday, she called this befriending ourselves. So it's nice to notice how much we've done and how far we've come, and give ourselves credit. So that's kind of the first part. The second part, I think, and I wrote it down, taking in new information. So that part is super important. So whether we're interacting with other people, which is kind of hard right now because we're all physically distancing, although many of us are still interacting sometimes with some people, but that can be a way of taking in new information. So meeting new people and is a way of, meeting new people that maybe have some qualities that we want. But another way is reading books, or maybe even watching YouTube videos. Like, I love The School of Life. Those are really informative. I love watching like the philosophy series, or even like courses on Coursera. So there's video content if you're not a big reader. There's podcasts, but I'm really, really, really into audiobooks. That's how I get a lot of my information, and also physical books. Like right now I'm reading this book, which is about how Hitler and many in the German army were addicted to methamphetamine. And it's a whole history of that. And it's like the World War II and the German occupation, Nazi occupation, through the lens of methamphetamine addiction. It's totally blowing my mind. So that, I don't know how that helps me with personal transformation, but it definitely helps me see everything in a whole new way. And it kind of makes me wonder how much of what the United States is going to also due to massive methamphetamine, very, very prevalent. If you have thoughts on that, please comment. I would love to hear your comments. I will discuss this topic anytime. And not to shame anyone, because I myself had a problem with methamphetamine dependence when I was a teenager. So taking in new information, so constantly be reading, self-development, personal growth type books, or watching videos. So this is like the starting point of transformation. And then I wrote down like a whole bunch of different ways that I have tracked behaviors and tracked habits. So it really, even though transformation sounds like something that's like big picture, something big that happens all at once, it's really not. It's never been like that in my experience. It's like maybe I'll have a really, really big insight. In fact, the mental health check-in that I did last Thursday about childhood emotional neglect, that was a moment of huge insight. So that's what I called it. It wasn't just a light bulb going off. It was like a spotlight. It was a floodlight. That's what I called it, a floodlight of new information for me. So, but that in and of itself isn't enough to create the transformation, right? Then I had to go to therapy every single week and work on my habits and behaviors, my micro habits. So, at that time when I discovered what childhood emotional neglect was, and I was going to a lot of therapy, I also was taking Wellbutrin to help me get better. I'm just throwing that out there so that we can prescription drugs for mental illnesses and reducing the stigma there. It was very, very, very helpful while I did the chunk of my healing. I no longer take it, but it was very helpful. So I information in. I started going to therapy. Meds that I needed. I'm not promoting them if you don't need them, but I'm just throwing it out there. And then I had to start changing my little micro behaviors. Okay. So one example, and I definitely have shared this one before. Actually, I don't know why I'm saying definitely. I might have shared it before. Is that I in a place that maybe wasn't the most gender woke yet. And so we have a lot of gender-based discrimination in the United States, and women do not make as much money as men do. Women are not treated equally. We don't get the same amount of talking time in meetings. We don't get these are facts. And so I worked in such a place with these types of practices. And so one of my personal transformation practices was to set boundaries and ask for what I need more often in the office place. And so I had someone that I was working with who was above me who would say things like, if I needed help with something, he would say, okay, but you owe me, which felt really weird and manipulative because we were in a working relationship. And this person was my superior. And so finally I had to say at one time, I don't owe you anything. And it really took him off guard, and he never said it again. And it was these kinds of little tiny moments built up over time that created a new me with boundaries that were wider and more protective, so that I could transform into the person that I wanted to be, who is stronger and showed up and asked for more. And I think it's unfair to ask all women to be the ones to personally always be responsible for all of society's changes. So I'm really careful not to place all of that on individuals, because women are socialized to be more meek and to not ask for what we need, or even know that we could ask for what we want and need, or ask for big things. So, that's something that like self-help gurus like Tony Robbins get in a lot of trouble for, saying like, you just need to try harder. It's not that, but it is empowering to start learning how to do this on a personal level, even though we do need policy changes and we need culture changes. Is that the more of us that can show up and ask for bigger things from the world and set these boundaries if we can. Because the thing is, right, with some people, setting bigger boundaries can be dangerous. If you grew up in a violent home and you tend to choose violent partners, and you start setting big boundaries, this could result in the loss of your life, for example, or the loss of your health. So I'm not belittling anyone by saying that we can practice these micro behaviors. But of course, not all micro behaviors are dangerous, and many of you watching are not in these kinds of situations. But there are ways when it's safe to set firmer boundaries. And so then little by little each time, you have a new life and a new self, new version of yourself. So other examples in that same vein were like asking the men to stop referring to the women in the office as girls, asking men in my life to stop referring to women as girls, especially in a professional setting, asking the men in the professional environment to stop commenting on what women were wearing or whether or not women were smiling. This was just slightly before the Me Too movement, so I expect that things have gotten a lot better, but this was before that all happened. So I think, I posted that meme a few weeks ago, like what we think trauma healing looks like. And it said, it's something like meditating peacefully by yourself. And then it says what trauma healing actually looks like. And there's a pie and it has like boundary setting, difficult conversations, crying, all the really hard things, right? So it sounds like personal transformation should actually be like this really happy, joyous, spontaneous thing where all of a sudden we're our new best self. But it's actually all these little, really painful, uncomfortable, hard steps to get there, right? Saying to my boss, I don't owe you anything. That was really hard. I mean, I was like kind of like shaking as I said it, like I had never really asked for that much before as a person. So that much respect from someone who wasn't giving it to me automatically. And that was the way that I was showing up in my life in all areas, right? And so once you start practicing showing up bigger, this is transformation, and in each step is painful. And so I'm like, oh, I didn't write that down, but part of personal transformation is starting the more comfortable feeling uncomfortable. So, is it okay if I have an awkward moment while I ask for this new thing? And you kind of have to go through, well, I'm not going to okay if the other person feels hurt. Well, it's okay if the other person feels jarred. It's okay if this other person is sad that they don't get some of my time anymore. Like often our boundaries are no's. No, I'm not gonna hold space for you and do your emotional labor anymore. No, I'm not really actually here to make you comfortable. No, I'm not going to take on this new project. No, I'm not going to let you call me girl in the office, right? So it's oftentimes learning to say no and dealing with the repercussions of knowing that it's not our job to caretake everyone else's emotions, even though oftentimes we do that. I mean, women are socialized, but I certainly know plenty of men who also do this. So it's not just women. So I wrote down a few ways that I track habit changes. One of my very favorite ways, and this time I know I definitely have talked about it, but it was a long time ago, I think in March or April. I like to read books by Geshe Michael Roach. He's a Buddhist Geshe. I guess it's kind of like having a master's degree or a PhD in Buddhist studies. He studied in Tibet. He recommends in his books, The Diamond Cutter. I think he recommends this in The Diamond Cutter. And then his other book, The Karma of Love, is similar. And if you've talked to me at all, I'm obsessed with these books. And it's just a matter of picking a habit you want to change. And so one that I often am still working on is to be a better listener. And like, for example, last night I went to a little outdoor dinner type party with just a few people, and I didn't know anyone, or I didn't know most of the people there, and I felt really intimidated. And so I kind of just said, okay, well, why don't you just go and work on being a better listener and just ask people questions about themselves and just see how that feels. And it felt great, by the way. But that came out of having had a different dinner party where I didn't feel like well. So it's this practice of check-in, this emotion coaching, this experience coaching, this self-life coaching where I go, wow, I feel kind of disappointed that I have been working on listening better and getting to know people more, or being intentional, because I know how good that feels. And I didn't do it. So that's okay. I'm meeting myself with kindness and compassion, but let me make a point to do it next time, very intentionally. And so what Geshe Michael Roach would say is to, bring have a sheet of paper and to put your habit and, to keep this right by your bedside. And every night before you go to bed, so I would write listening, like active listening. And then I would make like 2 columns, and then I would say like, yes, I did it, or no, I didn't do it. You can't really see that. Okay. And then, make a list of that day. Today I'm giving myself credit that I was a really good active listener when I was talking to my friend Amelia, or, or no, I forgot to ask her how she was I kind of got to do the same back. So just writing your little experiences every day. And this is the kind of, maybe tedious. But like I said, personal transformation really comes down to like the micro moments, the micro habits and behaviors, the smallest moments. And so, so that's the best way. That's the way that I've used to make such huge transformation. Although it's funny because I say that about listening, and I literally have been working on it for I think 6 years. And I'm still working on it, and I'm probably a better listener than I was 6 years ago, but I have a lot of room. I have a lot of room for growth. I tend to be a talker. But it's funny, the way karma works is that sometimes you get these magical little signs. I'm not really a person I like math more than I like feeling like magical coincidence, but those moments are really nice. But, I set this intention. I went to this gathering last night with this intention to be a better listener. And someone actually complimented me on my listening. Which was just kind of was interesting. So I guess that's a nice little, sometimes Geshe Michael Roach writes about karma, and it's just practical. It's, what we put out there is what we receive back. What the way that we live our life is the way that we get to see our life. And so sometimes you get those little moments where the universe is kind of like, I see you. So that was interesting. And the reason I'm kind of it was a weird moment is because I still felt like I was talking a lot. And so, and I felt like the person I was talking to was the one being such a good listener, but still, he kind of made a joke or something, or commented. And, so maybe it was just a nice mutual conversation. Which is great. I set that intention, and I ended up having a great experience. So maybe this is also a step towards personal transformation, is making sure that we're setting these intentions. So today I'm going to try to remember 3 times a day to speak to myself with kindness, setting those kinds of intentions. Or today I'm going to text 5 friends and tell them how much they mean to me. Or today I'm going to intentionally notice how beautiful different things are. You just take time to notice the beauty of things. So intention setting. Okay, so that was kind of the daily journal, the self-coaching, the self-talk. Another thing that I have done to change habits is to wear a rubber band around my wrist. And you all have heard me talk about that one when I was trying to see how I could be less judgmental in my head. And I put a rubber band around my wrist, and every time I did it, I just kind of did a little snap. It wasn't meant to be punishing, but it was just like a little cue. And that's how I discovered that I was more judgmental in my mind about other people if I was running late, if I was dehydrated, or if I had just eaten sugar. And that's what led me to quit sugar. I also try not to be late. Haven't nailed that one. And then I do carry a water bottle with me a lot more often now. So that was a little experiment that I did with the rubber band. It can be helpful to work with a coach or a therapist on these, right? Someone that you're checking in with. So if I'm wearing that rubber band and I'm journaling, it's still nice. Maybe I just post about it, post my experiment on Facebook, or maybe I have a friend to check in with. I used to, my friend Sean, we don't do this anymore, but probably 5 or 6 years ago, we really used to always set goals with each other and check in almost every day. I think, because this was a long time ago, but I think we even set an alarm. So it'd be okay, every day at 4, let's check in on our goals. It was really fun. It was nice. So yeah, that's all the tricks and tips I have for personal transformation. Don't underestimate the power of checking in with other people. We're social creatures. So it's nice to do the self-journaling and but it's nice to share too. So you can check out my video from a couple weeks ago on how to find a therapist, how to find a good therapist. And yeah, there's lots of coaches out there that work with different people on different things. And I probably will talk about what it looks like to work with me as a coach later. I might open up some spots, but if you're looking for recommendation, I know some good ones. And but a friend works great. Just set that alarm on your phone, talk to a friend every day, or share on Facebook. And yeah, don't underestimate that power of checking in with others about your goals. That's it. Thanks for tuning in.